The restaurant was alive with noise, laughter, and the clinking of cutlery. Maya moved between tables with a calm determination, balancing trays full of food and drinks. It was a busy evening, and the place was packed with families, couples, and a few businessmen who were enjoying their dinners. Despite the chaos, Maya always had a smile on her face. She had learned long ago that patience and kindness were stronger than anger, and she had a quiet strength that people often noticed even if they didn't know why. At one of the tables near the center, a man in a sharp suit entered with a woman who immediately demanded the best seat. The woman had an air of entitlement that made the other diners shift uncomfortably in their chairs. Her dress was expensive, her jewelry sparkled in the warm restaurant light, and her voice carried the sharp edge of someone used to getting everything they wanted. The man, her boyfriend, walked beside her with a polite smile, trying to smooth over her harsh tone, but it was clear that he was used to tempering her outbursts. Maya noticed them instantly as she carried a tray of appetizers to another table. The woman's gaze fell on her, and she frowned, like she was already annoyed at the world, or maybe just at Maya herself. Maya approached the table carefully, greeting them politely. "Good evening. Welcome to our restaurant. My name is Maya, and I will be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you off with some drinks?" The woman's eyes flicked over Maya like a critic assessing a performer. "I want a glass of your finest wine," she said, her voice dripping with impatience. "And make sure it's cold. Not too cold, though." Maya nodded politely. "Of course, right away." She stepped away to fetch the wine, careful not to let her own feelings show. She had dealt with difficult customers before, and she knew that her job was to stay professional no matter what. While Maya returned with the wine, the woman's impatience grew. She tapped her fingers on the table, sighing loudly, and occasionally glancing at other diners as if daring them to look at her. The man beside her tried to calm her down, whispering something, but she waved him off. Maya returned with a tray, holding the wine carefully. "Here is your wine," she said, placing the glass gently in front of the woman. "I hope you enjoy it." For a moment, everything seemed fine, but then the woman leaned forward suddenly, brushing against the glass. It tipped over and spilled red wine across Maya's uniform. Time seemed to slow. Maya froze for just a second before reacting, her hand lifting in a reflexive motion to steady the glass. But it was too late. The rich liquid ran down her apron, staining it. The restaurant went silent for a moment. Some diners gasped softly, while others looked away, not wanting to get involved. The man in the suit opened his mouth to apologize, but the woman cut him off with a sharp laugh. "How clumsy can you be?" she snapped at Maya, pointing at the stain. "This is ridiculous. Are you always this careless?" Maya's heart sank, but she kept her voice calm. "I am very sorry. I will clean it immediately and bring you a new glass." She tried to smile, but inside, she felt the sting of embarrassment. She could feel every eye in the restaurant on her, watching the scene unfold. The woman continued her rant, leaning back in her chair and waving her hands as if trying to draw attention to herself. "I can't believe this. I should speak to the manager. How do you let someone like this serve customers?" Maya nodded politely, maintaining her composure. She turned and walked quickly to the back room to grab a clean apron and a towel. Her hands shook slightly, but she didn't let it show. She reminded herself that this was part of her life now. People often judged too quickly, and sometimes the worst behavior came from those who felt entitled to everything. It was not her first encounter with someone rude, and it probably wouldn't be her last. In the staff area, her colleagues looked up in concern. "Are you okay?" asked one of the servers. Maya gave a small smile. "I'm fine. Just another difficult customer. It happens." She quickly changed her uniform and grabbed fresh towels. She refused to let anger take over. She had learned that losing her temper wouldn't solve anything, and often made situations worse. Back in the dining area, Maya returned to the table, her movements steady and graceful. She cleaned up the spilled wine carefully, making sure not to disturb any other diners. She replaced the glass and apologized once again, her voice steady and kind. "Here is a fresh glass of wine, and I have cleaned everything for you. I am very sorry for the inconvenience." The woman looked at her with a mix of surprise and disdain. She hadn't expected Maya to remain calm and professional. Most people would have snapped back or shown anger, but not Maya. The man beside her, still polite, murmured, "Thank you," to Maya, acknowledging her patience. Maya simply nodded and stepped away, giving the woman the space to continue her dinner. As Maya moved to the next table, she felt a sense of quiet satisfaction. She had handled the situation without losing her dignity. She also knew that sometimes people like the woman were unhappy with their own lives, and their anger was a reflection of that. It didn't excuse their behavior, but it helped Maya stay compassionate. Throughout the evening, Maya continued her work with the same calm demeanor. She served each table with attention and care, anticipating needs before they were asked for. She noticed the small details, the couple who needed extra napkins, the elderly man who liked his soup a certain temperature, the children who were shy and hesitant. She moved through the restaurant like a conductor of a symphony, orchestrating the chaos into a pleasant experience for everyone. In the back room, other staff members whispered among themselves about the incident. They expressed frustration at the woman's behavior but also admiration for Maya's composure. "I don't know how she does it," said one of the servers. "I would have lost it by now." Maya smiled quietly to herself. She didn't need recognition. She did her work for the people she served, not for applause. Meanwhile, the man in the suit began to notice the way Maya interacted with the other staff. He saw the respect they had for her, the way they followed her lead without her ever asking. There was a quiet authority in her presence, a sense that she understood people and how to handle them. It intrigued him, though he didn't yet know the full story. As the evening continued, the woman at the table with her boyfriend grew more impatient, complaining about the food and the service, even though everything was perfect. She criticized the ambience, the music, and even the lighting. Maya continued to serve with a calm smile, never letting the woman's harshness affect her mood. Each time she approached the table, she offered patience and professionalism. Finally, after what felt like hours, the dinner came to an end. The woman left with a sharp word or two, clearly frustrated that the night hadn't gone exactly as she wished. The man beside her looked apologetic, understanding that Maya had done nothing wrong. He gave her a quiet nod as they exited, a small gesture of gratitude. After they left, Maya took a moment to breathe. The restaurant was quieter now, and the other diners continued enjoying their meals. She reflected on the incident and reminded herself that patience, kindness, and grace were not just qualities for work. They were ways of life. People would always test her, sometimes deliberately, sometimes without realizing it. But she had the strength to handle it. The night went on, and Maya continued her duties with the same care and dedication. She knew that each person who came to the restaurant deserved respect, regardless of their behavior. And in that quiet confidence, she found her own satisfaction, knowing that true strength was not in lashing out but in standing tall when others tried to bring her down. The spilled wine had been just a moment, but the way she handled it would define her evening. And perhaps even more than that, it would define the respect she earned from those who truly noticed. And so, the restaurant buzzed with life, and Maya moved through it like a steady force, calm, kind, and unshakable, ready for whatever the night might bring next. After the busy dinner service, the restaurant slowly started to calm down. Maya moved between tables, checking on the few remaining customers, ensuring everyone was comfortable. She noticed her colleagues giving her approving looks, subtle nods, and small smiles. Even though they never said it out loud, she knew they were proud of how she had handled the incident with the woman earlier. Maya felt a quiet warmth in her chest. She had learned long ago that it was never about recognition. It was about doing the right thing no matter who was watching. Once the restaurant closed for the evening, Maya went to the back room to put away the leftover dishes and clean up. The staff gathered around, chatting quietly about the day. Some were still buzzing about the rude woman and how gracefully Maya had handled it. One of the junior servers asked, "How do you stay so calm with people like that?" "I think I would have lost it." Maya smiled, folding a clean apron. "It's not easy, but I remind myself that people often react based on their own unhappiness. Their anger isn't really about me. Another server laughed softly. Well, you make it look easy. I couldn't keep my cool like that. Maya shook her head gently. It's something you can learn. You just have to remember why you're here and what really matters. Kindness costs nothing, and it changes more than you realize. As the staff continued their chatter, the conversation shifted to the couple who had caused the scene. The man in the suit had quietly been trying to smooth things over all night, but the woman had clearly overshadowed him. Everyone wondered what would happen next. Maya, however, didn't let her mind dwell on it. She had learned not to let anger or frustration linger. It was better to focus on what she could control, her own actions and reactions. After the staff cleaned up and prepared for the next day, Maya stayed behind for a few minutes, walking slowly to the storage room where she kept personal notes and schedules. She sat down at a small desk tucked in the corner, her eyes thoughtful. She often came to this quiet space to reflect and plan. Working in the restaurant wasn't just a job for her. It was an opportunity to observe, to understand people, and to learn. She wanted to see the real human side of the world, not just the polished surface everyone presented. Unknown to her coworkers and even the occasional high-profile guests, Maya had a secret. She was the owner of the restaurant chain, a billionaire who had chosen to experience life from the ground level. She wanted to see the business through the eyes of her employees and customers, to understand their challenges, and to ensure the culture of respect and kindness was upheld. Most people never suspected it, and she preferred it that way. Observing and learning in silence had its own power. The memory of the rude woman lingered, but Maya didn't let it bother her. She knew that true respect came from actions, not titles or wealth. She thought about how the staff had reacted, the quiet support they offered each other, and the way they treated every customer with care. That was the real strength of the restaurant. She smiled softly, realizing that even small acts of grace could ripple outward in ways people didn't always see. While she was reflecting, the manager, Mr. Harris, approached. He was a tall man with a calm presence, respected by everyone. He had worked with Maya for years, knowing more about her than most. He leaned against the desk, a curious smile on his face. "You handled that situation very well tonight," he said. "Most people would have let her get to them." Maya looked up, shaking her head modestly. "I just did what I had to do. It's not about me. It's about making sure the restaurant runs smoothly and everyone feels respected." Mr. Harris nodded. "Still, not everyone has that patience. It takes strength to stay calm under pressure. You should be proud." Maya shrugged softly. "I am proud, but I'm more proud of the staff. They stayed calm too, helped where they could, and never let the negativity spread. That's what really matters." They spoke quietly for a few moments, the weight of the day slowly lifting. The manager could sense that Maya had a unique perspective on people. There was an understanding in her eyes that went beyond what was visible. She didn't just react. She observed, analyzed, and learned. It was a rare gift that made her an excellent leader, even if her true position remained hidden. As the night deepened, Maya finished her reflections and prepared to leave. She walked through the empty dining area, noticing the little details, the soft hum of the refrigerators, the faint scent of cooked meals lingering in the air, and the clean, polished tables waiting for the next day. She felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing that she had done her part, and that the restaurant remained a place of calm, even after the storm of the evening. Outside, the streets were quieter, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement from a light drizzle earlier in the day. Maya took a deep breath of the cool night air, feeling the calm settle over her. She walked slowly to her car, thinking about the people she had observed that night. The polite man trying to balance the harshness of his girlfriend, the other diners who had stayed patient, and her staff who had shown unwavering support for each other. Her mind also wandered to the lessons she had learned over the years. Money and power could only take a person so far. True strength came from character, empathy, and the courage to remain kind when faced with rudeness or cruelty. Maya knew that this was something she wanted to teach others, not through words, but through actions and example. Her undercover work at the restaurant was a way to live this lesson daily. Meanwhile, some staff members stayed late, tidying up the remaining items and sharing laughs about the day's events. They felt inspired by Maya's resilience and composure, and they quietly admired her for it. It wasn't just the way she handled difficult customers. It was the way she treated everyone around her, giving them dignity and respect. At home later that night, Maya reflected on the incident with the rude woman. She didn't dwell on the embarrassment or the frustration. Instead, she considered the woman's behavior as a reflection of her own struggles and dissatisfaction. Understanding this didn't excuse the rudeness, but it allowed Maya to release any lingering negativity from the experience. She went to bed with a sense of peace, ready to face the challenges of the next day. The next morning, Maya returned to the restaurant early, as she often did, to ensure everything was in order before the doors opened. She greeted her staff with warmth and encouragement, noticing the renewed energy in their interactions. Everyone seemed more motivated, inspired by the grace she had shown the night before. Maya quietly observed, taking note of small improvements and subtle changes in the atmosphere. Throughout the day, Maya continued her undercover work, serving tables, checking on the kitchen, and assisting her colleagues whenever needed. She engaged with customers naturally, listening to their needs, and ensuring they had a positive experience. Her presence was calming, a gentle reminder that kindness and professionalism could coexist even under pressure. In her quiet moments, Maya thought about the larger lesson she wanted to share. She wanted people to understand that respect, patience, and understanding were far more valuable than money, status, or outward appearances. These were qualities that could change lives, foster connections, and create a sense of community in even the most high-pressure environments. And so, Maya continued her work, observing, learning, and quietly influencing those around her. She understood that her role was not about recognition or applause. It was about making a difference in small but meaningful ways. She knew that the challenges she faced, whether from difficult customers or demanding staff, were opportunities to demonstrate the strength of character she valued most. By the end of part 2, Maya had not only maintained her dignity in the face of rudeness, but had also subtly influenced those around her. Her quiet strength, empathy, and professionalism had set a tone of respect that others began to follow. The restaurant continued to thrive, not just as a business, but as a place where people learned the value of patience, kindness, and human connection, even in the midst of chaos. As the days passed, Maya continued her work at the restaurant with the same dedication and calm demeanor that everyone had come to respect. She noticed the way her colleagues interacted, how they depended on each other, and the small ways they made the place run smoothly. Her presence often went unnoticed by regular customers, but those who interacted with her felt the warmth of her attentiveness and the quiet confidence she carried. One afternoon, the man from the previous evening, the CEO named Daniel, returned to the restaurant. He seemed curious, almost drawn to the calm aura surrounding Maya. He observed her as she moved between tables, interacting with customers and staff alike. He saw how easily she diffused tense situations, how she anticipated the needs of the guests, and how her colleagues instinctively followed her lead. It intrigued him, though he did not yet know the depth of her influence. Maya, unaware of his observation, focused entirely on her work. She noticed when a child dropped a spoon or when an elderly couple needed extra napkins, and she responded with care and attention. Her movements were graceful and efficient, her smile natural, and her words gentle but confident. She had a way of making people feel valued and heard, even when the restaurant was crowded and noisy. Daniel found himself watching her, impressed by her ability to remain composed despite the chaos. He had seen many staff members in high-end restaurants, but none had left such a lasting impression. He whispered a comment to the manager nearby, but Maya was too busy assisting a guest to hear. The manager simply smiled knowingly, as if he had seen this before. Meanwhile, the woman who had spilled the wine had become somewhat of a regular topic among the staff. Her arrogance and rudeness were well known, and the staff often discussed strategies for dealing with difficult customers like her. Maya, however, never spoke ill of anyone. She believed that understanding and patience were far more powerful than criticism. That evening, the restaurant was once again busy. The air buzzed with conversation and the sound of cutlery. Maya moved seamlessly from table to table, ensuring that everyone was satisfied. Daniel sat quietly in a corner, observing, taking note of how she managed each situation. He noticed how she would step in quietly if a server was struggling, or how she would reassure a nervous newcomer with a kind word. Every action seemed effortless, yet it required a remarkable level of skill and awareness. At one point, Maya noticed a delivery mix-up in the kitchen. Some ingredients had been delivered to the wrong station, causing confusion among the cooks. She quickly stepped in, calmly organizing the items and redirecting the staff. Her voice was steady, her instructions clear, and within minutes, the kitchen was back in order. Daniel could not help but feel a growing respect for her. He had witnessed leaders before, but none who led with such quiet authority and empathy. As the evening progressed, the woman from before entered the restaurant again, accompanied by Daniel. Her eyes immediately sought out Maya, as if to challenge her again. She noticed Maya's composed demeanor and seemed momentarily taken aback. She whispered something to Daniel, who gave her a small nod, but Daniel's attention remained focused on Maya. He observed how Maya handled the situation without flinching, without giving the woman the satisfaction of seeing her reaction. Her professionalism was unwavering. The woman's impatience grew as she waited for her meal. She made small complaints about the menu, the ambience, and even the placement of the chairs. Maya approached her table with a gentle smile, listening carefully and responding with thoughtful solutions. She never raised her voice, never showed irritation, and always offered a way to improve the experience. The contrast between Maya's calm composure and the woman's harshness was striking. Daniel finally spoke to the woman privately, attempting to calm her down. She waved him off, but he remained firm. It became clear to him that Maya was the one maintaining order, the one earning respect quietly through her actions. He began to see that true leadership was not about titles or wealth, but about character and the ability to guide others with patience and understanding. Throughout the night, Maya continued her work, moving seamlessly between tables, the kitchen, and her colleagues. She offered encouragement where needed, advice when asked, and comfort to anyone who appeared stressed or overwhelmed. Her influence on the team was subtle but powerful. The staff trusted her, looked to her for guidance, and felt motivated by her example. Daniel watched it all, absorbing the lessons in leadership and humanity that Maya demonstrated without ever speaking about them directly. As the evening drew to a close, Maya noticed the woman from before glancing around, perhaps realizing that she was not going to get the attention or reaction she wanted. She felt a subtle sense of triumph, not from defeating the woman, but from maintaining her own dignity and composure. She had proven, in her own quiet way, that respect and patience were stronger than arrogance and cruelty. After the last customers had left, Maya and the staff gathered in the back room. They reflected on the day, discussing small victories, challenges, and lessons learned. Maya listened attentively, offering guidance and support, but never boasting or drawing attention to herself. Her leadership was felt in her actions, not her words. Daniel approached Maya at the end of the night, finally finding a moment to speak to her directly. He complimented her on how she managed the evening, acknowledging her ability to maintain calm and order in the face of difficult circumstances. Maya thanked him politely, accepting the compliment with humility. As she left the restaurant that night, Maya reflected on the experiences of the past few days. She had faced challenges, witnessed difficult behavior, and handled situations that could have easily escalated. Yet through it all, she had maintained her principles of kindness, patience, and respect. She understood that her role was not just to serve food, but to create an environment where people felt valued and supported. Maya knew that her journey at the restaurant was far from over. She would continue to observe, to learn, and to influence those around her in subtle ways. Her goal was not recognition or fame, but the quiet satisfaction of knowing that she could make a difference through her actions and her example. The night air was cool as she walked to her car, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement from a brief evening drizzle. She felt a sense of calm fulfillment, knowing that the lessons of patience and empathy were being reinforced in the restaurant every day. She had seen firsthand how respect and understanding could transform interactions, inspire colleagues, and even influence difficult customers. Daniel, still in the restaurant, watched her leave. He had gained a new perspective on what it meant to lead, to influence, and to earn respect. He realized that Maya's quiet strength, her empathy, and her unwavering professionalism were qualities that he had rarely seen, and they left a lasting impression on him. Back at the restaurant, Maya's colleagues cleaned up and prepared for the next day. They felt motivated by her example and inspired to follow her lead. Her influence had extended beyond the customers and into the heart of the team, creating a culture of respect and cooperation that was quietly powerful. Maya finally returned home, exhausted but content. She knew that the challenges she faced at the restaurant were only part of the bigger picture. Every interaction, every act of patience, and every moment of empathy was a building block in creating a place where people felt valued and respected. She went to bed that night with a sense of quiet pride, ready to continue her work the next day with the same dedication, patience, and care that had become her signature. Through it all, Maya remained unaware of the full impact she had on Daniel and others who observed her. Her actions were a lesson in leadership, kindness, and the power of quiet influence. She had proven that true respect and authority came not from wealth, status, or loud words, but from integrity, empathy, and the courage to stay calm when faced with adversity. And in that realization, she found her true strength, quietly guiding those around her toward a better understanding of what it meant to lead and to care. The restaurant buzzed with life one evening, brighter and livelier than usual. Maya moved through the tables with her usual grace, attending to each guest with care. She had developed a rhythm over time, knowing exactly what each table needed before they even asked. There was a sense of calm efficiency in her movements that was almost hypnotic. Even in the busiest moments, she never lost her composure, never showed irritation, and always responded with warmth. That evening, the previous woman who had spilled the wine entered the restaurant again, this time with Daniel by her side. She seemed determined to make another scene, though it was unclear whether she wanted attention or revenge. Her eyes immediately sought out Maya, and there was a flicker of surprise when she saw the same calm expression on Maya's face as before. She whispered something to Daniel, who gave her a subtle glance, but his attention was drawn entirely to Maya. Maya approached the table with her usual smile, ready to take their orders. She noticed the woman's sharp eyes, the way she shifted impatiently in her seat, and the faint tension in Daniel's posture. Maya did not flinch. She treated the table as she would any other, with professionalism, patience, and grace. "Good evening," Maya said, placing menus in front of them. "Is there anything special I can assist you with tonight?" The woman glanced at her and smirked, attempting to assert dominance. "I want everything perfect tonight," she said. "No mistakes." Maya nodded calmly. "Of course. I'll make sure everything is to your satisfaction." Daniel watched quietly, impressed by her ability to remain composed. He could sense the tension in the room and noticed how Maya diffused it effortlessly with her calm presence. He had witnessed her leadership before, but each interaction revealed more depth, more understanding of human nature, and more skill in handling complex situations. As Maya moved away to place their order, she checked on other tables. A young couple struggled with a confused toddler, a family needed extra utensils, and a group of friends were trying to decide what to order. She assisted each with patience and care, her attention to detail never faltering. Daniel's eyes followed her, observing the way she managed multiple tasks with quiet authority and empathy. Meanwhile, the woman continued her attempts to be difficult, complaining about small details and testing Maya's patience. She criticized the arrangement of chairs, the lighting, and even the music. But Maya responded with calm suggestions, small adjustments, and a gentle smile that never faltered. Each interaction revealed the stark contrast between Maya's composure and the woman's impatience. Daniel could see that Maya was not only handling the situation but doing so with an integrity and elegance that few could match. At one point, the woman tried to provoke Maya further, knocking her water glass deliberately and smiling smugly. Maya simply moved swiftly to clean it up, replaced the glass and smiled politely. "I have taken care of it. Please let me know if you need anything else." Her voice was steady and unshakable. The woman's smirk faltered, realizing that Maya could not be rattled. Daniel finally leaned toward the woman, speaking quietly, trying to calm her down. She waved him off, clearly frustrated, but Daniel stayed firm. It was then he noticed the respect that Maya commanded not through words, but through action. Every staff member seemed to respond instinctively to her presence, helping each other, maintaining efficiency, and supporting one another without her needing to instruct them explicitly. Maya continued to observe, guiding quietly and ensuring smooth operations. A delivery arrived late, and she quickly assessed the situation, directing staff to organize items, restock supplies, and keep the kitchen running without delay. She moved between the dining area and kitchen with precision, her calm authority felt by everyone in her vicinity. The woman at the table finally leaned back, realizing her attempts to dominate the situation were ineffective. Daniel noticed the change and felt a sense of admiration for Maya that he could not ignore. He began to understand that true leadership was not about wealth, status, or loud commands, but about empathy, patience, and the ability to guide others quietly and effectively. As the night progressed, Maya's interactions with customers and staff continued seamlessly. She offered encouragement, comfort, and guidance wherever it was needed. Her influence was subtle but profound. The staff trusted her instincts, followed her lead, and were motivated by her example. The atmosphere in the restaurant was calm yet dynamic, a balance that reflected Maya's own approach to life and work. Finally, the manager, Mr. Harris, called a staff meeting in the back room at closing time. Everyone gathered, including the woman and Daniel. The air was filled with a mixture of curiosity and anticipation. Mr. Harris spoke first, addressing the team and acknowledging their efforts throughout the evening. Then he paused, looking toward Maya. "There is something important I need to share," he said. "Maya is not only a wonderful colleague, but also the owner of this restaurant. She has been working undercover to understand the real challenges of running this business, and to ensure that our staff and customers are treated with the respect they deserve." The room fell silent. The woman who had caused so much tension froze, her eyes wide with shock. Daniel could hardly believe it. Maya stepped forward calmly, her presence commanding yet gentle. "I wanted to experience the restaurant from the inside," Maya said, her voice steady. "I wanted to see how our staff and customers interact, to understand the challenges and joys of this work, and to ensure that kindness and respect remain at the heart of everything we do. I also wanted to show that true leadership is not about titles, wealth, or power, but about how we treat people every day." The staff applauded softly, inspired by her honesty and humility. Daniel looked at her, completely stunned. He realized that all the lessons he had been learning in the past days were part of a larger truth about leadership, empathy, and human character. The woman, visibly embarrassed, tried to defend herself, but Daniel interrupted gently. "It's clear now that respect and integrity are what matter here. We all have something to learn from Maya's example." His voice carried authority and sincerity, leaving no room for argument. The woman left silently, her arrogance replaced by shame and realization. Maya turned to the staff and smiled. "Thank you for your hard work, your patience, and your kindness. Together, we create a space where everyone feels valued and respected. That is what makes this restaurant special." Her words were simple, yet they resonated deeply with everyone present. Daniel approached Maya privately after the meeting. "I've learned more from observing you these past days than I have in years of business experience," he said, his voice filled with genuine respect. "You have shown me what true leadership really means." Maya smiled gently. "Thank you. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about serving others, guiding them with empathy, and maintaining integrity even when it's difficult." As the night ended and the restaurant emptied, Maya reflected on the events of the evening. She had faced challenges, observed human behavior, and seen the impact of patience, kindness, and integrity firsthand. The woman's arrogance had provided a contrast that highlighted her own principles, but it had not shaken her. Instead, it had reinforced her belief in the power of quiet strength. The staff cleaned up and prepared for the next day, motivated and inspired by Maya's example. They felt proud to work under someone who truly understood them, valued their efforts, and led by example rather than fear. The culture of respect and cooperation was solidified, and the lessons learned that night would guide their future interactions. Maya walked home under the night sky, the city lights reflecting softly on the wet pavement. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that her work had made a difference, not just in the restaurant's success, but in the lives of those she interacted with. She understood that patience, empathy, and respect were not just ideals. They were actionable values that could shape people, influence behavior, and foster genuine connection. Daniel remained at the restaurant, contemplating what he had witnessed. He realized that Maya had provided a lesson not just for him, but for anyone who sought to understand the true meaning of leadership. Her actions, her composure, and her integrity had created a ripple effect, transforming the environment and the people within it. Maya returned home, ready to rest and reflect on the day's lessons. She knew that the journey was far from over, that challenges and opportunities would continue to arise, but she was prepared. Her strength lay not in her wealth, her status, or her position, but in her ability to maintain her principles, to inspire those around her, and to lead through empathy, patience, and quiet authority. And so, Part 4 ended with Maya standing as a beacon of calm, integrity, and leadership, a living example of how true respect and influence are earned, not demanded, and how the impact of one person's character can quietly transform the lives of many around them. The morning after the revelation, the restaurant felt lighter, almost brighter. Maya arrived early as usual, preparing the space for the day ahead. There was a calm energy in the air that seemed to flow from the staff themselves, who were more confident and motivated than ever. They had seen the events of the previous night, they had witnessed Maya's strength, and they had understood what it meant to work in an environment rooted in respect and integrity. Maya moved through the restaurant quietly, checking every table, arranging menus, and ensuring the kitchen was ready for the first orders. She smiled at the staff, offering encouraging words, making each person feel valued. They responded with quiet smiles and nods, the sense of teamwork and unity palpable. It was clear that her leadership had made a real difference, inspiring those around her without ever raising her voice. Daniel returned that day, not as a visitor, but with a curiosity that was growing into admiration. He watched from a distance as Maya interacted with the staff and customers. She moved with calm precision, anticipating needs, handling small problems with ease, and maintaining an atmosphere of peace and efficiency. He noticed the respect she commanded from her team, the quiet trust they had in her decisions, and the genuine care she showed to every customer, regardless of their behavior or status. As the day progressed, the woman who had caused so much tension tried to enter the restaurant again, perhaps seeking attention or wanting to assert herself. She hesitated at the entrance when she saw Maya working calmly among the tables. Maya met her gaze for just a moment, offering the same polite smile as always. The woman faltered, realizing that nothing she did would disrupt Maya's composure or undermine her authority. She quietly left, her arrogance subdued by the realization that she was dealing with someone far stronger than she had anticipated. The kitchen was bustling, and Maya moved among the staff, offering guidance and assistance wherever it was needed. A delivery mix-up caused some confusion, but Maya handled it swiftly and calmly. She reassigned tasks, organized the ingredients, and ensured that no one panicked. The staff followed her lead instinctively, their trust in her unwavering. Daniel observed this with admiration. He realized that leadership was not about orders or commands, but about influence, respect, and the ability to inspire confidence and cooperation. Throughout the day, Maya continued her interactions with customers. She listened attentively, anticipated needs, and responded with warmth and care. A family had a small accident with a child spilling juice, and Maya handled it without a word of frustration, turning a potentially stressful situation into a moment of laughter and relief. Another table needed special attention for dietary preferences, and she accommodated them seamlessly. Her actions reflected a deep understanding of human nature and the value of empathy. Daniel finally approached Maya during a quiet moment. He wanted to understand her perspective, to learn how she managed to maintain such composure and influence. He asked her about her approach, her philosophy, and her experiences. Maya spoke with simplicity and honesty. "It's not about controlling others or asserting power," she explained. "It's about understanding people, guiding them with care, and maintaining integrity. Respect and kindness are more powerful than any title or wealth." Daniel listened intently, absorbing her words. He realized that he had underestimated the impact of character, empathy, and quiet leadership. Maya's example showed him that true power lay not in wealth or status, but in how one treated others and inspired those around them. Her calm and thoughtful approach was a lesson he would carry with him long after leaving the restaurant. As the evening approached, the restaurant remained lively but controlled. Maya's guidance ensured that every customer left satisfied, every staff member felt supported, and every small challenge was handled with grace. Daniel watched her move seamlessly between tasks, guiding and assisting, observing and understanding. It was clear to him that Maya's influence extended beyond the visible. She shaped the culture, the environment, and the morale of everyone in the restaurant. Finally, as the last customers left, Maya gathered the staff in the back room. She thanked them for their hard work, for their patience, and for their dedication. She reminded them that the strength of the restaurant came not from its menu or decor, but from the people within it, working together with respect and care. The staff applauded softly, feeling pride and inspiration from her words. They had learned that leadership was not about authority or fear, but about empathy, example, and the quiet power of character. Daniel approached Maya privately after the meeting. He expressed his deep respect for her, for the way she had handled difficult situations, and for the lessons she had demonstrated through her actions. He admitted that he had learned more from observing her than from any business experience he had encountered. Maya listened with a gentle smile, acknowledging his words with humility. The story of the harsh woman and the spilled wine had come full circle. The woman had left, humbled by the realization that she could not disrupt Maya's calm authority. Daniel had learned the value of empathy, patience, and quiet leadership. The staff had grown stronger, more confident, and more united. And Maya continued to guide them all, not through commands, but through example, understanding, and integrity. That night, Maya left the restaurant with a sense of fulfillment and peace. She had faced challenges, observed human behavior, and maintained her principles through it all. Her work had made a difference not only in the restaurant's daily operations, but in the lives of everyone she interacted with. She understood that patience, kindness, and respect were not just ideals, but practical tools that could transform environments and relationships. Daniel remained at the restaurant, reflecting on the lessons he had learned. He realized that wealth and status were not measures of true success, but character, empathy, and leadership were. Maya's influence had shown him a new way to view human interactions, leadership, and the power of example. He understood that he had witnessed something rare and valuable, and it would stay with him forever. The staff cleaned up and prepared for the next day, motivated and inspired by Maya's example. They knew that their work mattered, that they were respected, and that they had a leader who understood and valued them. The culture of the restaurant was stronger than ever, built on empathy, integrity, and quiet leadership. Maya returned home that night, ready to rest and reflect on the day's experiences. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, knowing that her approach had influenced not only the restaurant's operations, but the lives of those she worked with and served. She had proven that true strength came from character, that respect and patience were more powerful than arrogance and cruelty, and that quiet leadership could transform environments in profound ways. As she looked ahead, Maya knew that challenges would continue to arise, but she was prepared. She would continue to lead by example, to guide with empathy, and to maintain the values that had always been important to her. Her journey was ongoing, but she faced it with confidence, integrity, and the knowledge that true influence came from kindness, respect, and the quiet strength of character. And so, the story concluded with Maya standing as a living example of leadership through empathy, patience, and unwavering integrity. She had transformed the restaurant, influenced those around her, and left a lasting impression on Daniel and her staff. The lessons of respect, kindness, and quiet strength would continue to ripple outward, shaping the environment and the people within it, proving that true power comes not from wealth or status, but from character, action, and heart.